Alright, so today we've got two main projects going on. We're going to be doing some finishing touches on the Z, which performed amazingly yesterday, and we're going to be doing some stuff to the Chaser. Number one thing is doing the front main on this, so we're going to have to, Alberto, probably pull the radiator. We can put the new one in, but while we are in there, we should have room to access the front main.
Yeah, so I also needed to replace the serpentine belt. Good thing I didn't do that either, so we'll replace the serpentine, we'll replace the front main seal and the radiator today.
So there's that stuff going on, a couple other little bits here and there, but main thing is kind of getting this thing up to par and then getting some stuff done on the Chaser.
Also I made the exhaust look a little bit better. So as it was flamey, now it's like proper flaming. I kind of like dress it up with a burnt look, kind of make it a little bit nicer than what it already was.
More Chaser stuff going down, about to throw the rear seat in and get this interior looking even better. Full interior is always a must. Already better. Trying to get the fitment and everything dialed on the Chaser, so it's convenient that I have my own tire machine so I can play around with different tire sizes and different wheels. That way I can get the best setup instead of having a waste time running back and forth. No scratches or nothing. So it's a nice feeling. Mounting tires can be very, very satisfying sometimes, especially getting a putt the beat on. Raise the height a little bit in the rear. I think I'm still gonna go a little bit higher than this, especially once I add a little bit more spacers to it. I'm gonna be flirting with trouble back here, but I know that some of the cars over in Japan, they'll actually trim this out. So I might need to trim this back a little bit and then just kind of rewrap that edge. What's cool about these radiators is the condenser's actually combined with a condenser. So as stupid as I am, of course, I'm like, oh, let's try to keep AC in this car. So we are gonna use a setup that retains AC, as dumb as that may sound. We might end up deleting it in the future if we were trying to shave weight for like drag racing stuff, but might as well if it's got it, right? I mentioned before that at Cleetuson Cars, I do want to try to do a couple drag passes since the burnout competition is probably going to be later in the day. I didn't have time to get a proper setup for a drag tire for it, but Titan was cool enough to let me borrow a set of their, what are these, forge lines? Whatever they are, they're probably expensive. And it looks like these have a nice big bias ply, which is exactly what we need for this thing. But mind you, in case you're worried, oh, you're gonna break the car before the burnout competition, we're gonna make sure we have a spare diff and axles, which are the two weak points of this car, and I'll try to go easy on the launch. But I do think this thing is for sure gonna run 10s. So we're gonna test fit these right now and see how they look. How light are those wheels?
There's no way this weighs more than like 30 pounds total.
This is some fitment right here. I've never seen that before. We're probably gonna end up taking out these fender wells anyway. One thing I wanna do is kind of fireproof the fender wells and like get rid of all the plastic and stuff so it doesn't just catch on fire and melt. Right now, I haven't obviously talked about it or addressed it because it's just a temporary thing, but I've kind of got a sketchy amount of threads on these studs just to get the wheel somewhat even close to where it fits properly. So we're gonna play around and add some extended studs so we can play with spacers on this car. In addition to doing the brakes, adjust the suspension, and a couple other minor things. Alright, so a little JZX knowledge for you. Fronts are the same as IS300 if you need brake rotors and stuff, but in the USA there's no equivalent to the JZX 100 rear rotor. So they're kind of a hard commodity here and everyone ends up spending a fortune shipping them from Japan, but luckily I brought over some last year from Japan and got charged a bunch for overweight suitcase, but I have them now and they look great. Working on the front now, just taking off the old junk studs, and I've got some ARP extended ones put on that way if I need some spacers to get the wheels where I need them to be, we'll be right. It would have been nice to like paint the calipers, but I'm trying to draw the line somewhere since this is technically a missile car, so leaving the brakes raw I feel like really gives it that missile car look. Maybe we'll purposely rust them out a little bit.
Yeah, Tina.
Yep. We'll match the color of the missile car wrap. There's been so much going on the past couple days. Johan's been cool enough to stop by and help out. What are you doing right now?
Just making it down too so it goes further down to the dry firewall and it doesn't catch on fire.
Yeah, before we kind of used the one that came with the kit, but it was kind of sketchy because it was literally dumping, pointing right at the firewall. So he's gonna extend that and then probably give me a hand throwing a blow-off valve so we can save that stock turbo's life, as well as I'm gonna try to work on wiring up one of these bad boys that I like to use on my stock ECU cars. I wish they would sponsor me. I keep on buying their stuff and talking about it in videos. That'd be really cool. So anyway, while I've been doing this stuff, got the new brakes on the Chaser. Alberto got that front main done, as well as when the radiator was out, it's a good time to put the new radiator in. And he's also working on right now the water sprayer system for the radiator, as well as the oil cooler that's right there. Not that, that. What you can't see, right behind here, tucked back, are those sprayer nozzles that we showed you guys before. So since this car is gonna be sitting and not moving, water will help to kind of keep everything cool. So look at that. We'll have a little switch in the car.
Is that like enough water right
The
there?
only problem is people are gonna think we're leaking. Although it's probably gonna be so hot, it'll just go poof. So.
Good thing it like kind of lands on the oil cooler too a little bit, so like it helps it.
It's a really cool way that you kind of incorporated that. He also welded in a little temp sensor in there. I don't want to run the factory coolant gauge. I want to have like an aftermarket coolant gauge so I can know exactly what my temps are with no delay or any weird stuff. So that'll be pretty convenient. First thing I'm doing is trying to figure out where I want to put the solenoid for the boost controller. Since it's just going to go and basically line with this line that runs from the wastegate down to the actual compressor housing, I feel like it'd be smartest to kind of put it somewhere down here so you don't have any crazy lines running all over the place, and it can be just nice and simple, still easy to access. So I'll just need to make sure I have a hole that comes through the back, and then I can just pop a bolt right in the back of this. It must be a sign because there's already a pre-tapped hole that's the exact same thread pitch as the screw that goes into the bracket for the innovate gauge. Just getting frustrated trying to figure out where I wanted to put the map sensor, so I ended up just making my own little bracket out of some mild steel that we had laying around, so I can mount it, not here, but it's over on the other side. I'll show you guys in a minute. But I needed that angle to get this thing vertical, because you can't really mount these at an angle or it's not good for them. And here's the finished product of kind of where I mounted that little map sensor back there. Finishing up running some of the lines for the boost controller. I got to put a top port in this wastegate because it kind of runs in a series with it. Got that blow off valve on there. You did a good job. That looks nice, man. That was quick.
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. Good size. That looks pretty sick, right like that. It's almost done. Just finished running all the vacuum lines. You'll see top gate goes down into the boost solenoid, which then goes down into a T, one to the compressor housing, and then one back up to the side port in the wastegate. And then for the blow-off valve, we just have a vacuum reference coming around and in through here, which will be hidden once we have the valve cover in, that goes into the intake manifold for a boost reference. The main reason this has been a priority is because A, I'm curious what my boost is, and B, I'm curious what my AFRs are, to know if A, I have a sort of leak, or if the car is making what it should make with the spring that I was told it has, or if the car is just running pretty rich and that's why it doesn't feel as fast as it should. So once we have the data and know the AFR that the car is running at, we can kind of lean it out a little bit with a fuel pressure regulator. Johan stayed late, helped me finish up with the Innovate gauge that's now in here. Did some test pulls, probably should have filmed, but I didn't. And alarms started going off on buildings and stuff, so I decided I would just chill, and we'll do some pulls tomorrow that I'll insert at the end of this video. The car was still pretty rich. It was like 10.0 at wide open throttle, so I took out like 2 psi fuel pressure. Now it's like closer to 11, which is still super, super safe, but usually what these things would run with a stock fuel pressure regulator. It rips. It's not as fast as I feel like it should be. I don't know if it's because the sound difference with external gate, the way that it comes on, like it's just a little bit different feeling. You know, the trans too changes things, the gearing, the different diff. But I'm happy I got this thing together. We've got a lot of cool stuff to show you between this car and the 370Z that's gonna be coming up tomorrow. I'm super worn out though. Still super, super, super sore throat, so it's been hard to film and hard to talk in videos. So I apologize for like not really filming that much. And also, since I got back from Japan, it's been like 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. days at the shop every single day in a row, and I really need a break, but there's just so much going on with Cletus and cars and drifting stuff, and then after that the open house, that I'm trying to take advantage of every second I can, and I'm getting burnt out. So I'm doing my best. But another thing, I might try stopping drinking coffee. I know, sounds ridiculous, right? I felt so good getting back from Japan, and the only thing I could think of is my coffee intake was so much less in Japan, because I feel like those Boss coffees don't have any actual caffeine in them. So I don't know. It's rough, but at least we had an awesome banger video yesterday. I'm so stoked you guys were so stoked on it. I was trying to figure out why the Chaser was running like 20 PSI last night, which although the steel wheel turbo can handle, not the best thing for longevity. So I pulled out the wastegate springs to see what it was running, and the colors that it had in it basically meant that it was running like 16 PSI setup, and usually they'll overshoot by a pound or two, which would explain why it was like 19 pounds. So I'm gonna go down to like, I think this is more like an 11 pound setup, and then that way I can do the rest of the boost controller, and I'll have a little bit better safety if we have any issues bumping down to 11. I'm a little bit nervous about clearance with the wheels with the bumper on, but yo, how sick did this front bumper come out? Guardian wraps absolutely killed it. This is not an easy piece to wrap. I can't see any of the seams. I'm so excited to put it on and see what it looks like. Now we're talking. Look at that. I think the ride height's pretty good too. The bumper's still pretty high off the ground. Not Ebisu spec fully, but dang, that looks good. Because we're actually going to be running this car down the drag strip, Cletus did ask if I could put a new windshield in it. So we did have someone come by today and fit a new windshield in the car. Kind of a bummer because I thought it would be really funny to run it with the smashed windshield. But he did bring up a good point that at high speeds, some of the shards of glass can actually come out, just like tiny little microfragments, and can get in your eyes. So it was a good idea to clean it up. So you guys know I've been putting dual pass radiators in a lot of cars and stuff lately, but a pretty cool piece that Alberto was able to score for us. Wrong, I think it's upside down. I guess Mishimoto came out with a dual pass oil cooler that we're gonna try to use for this. It's pretty cool. That thing's giant, huh? PSI was kind enough to let us utilize their alignment rack to get the chaser back into spec. Pat, quick question. That front end, I know this thing was crashed pretty rough. Were we able to get the camera kinda close?
Yeah, close enough.
It was like half degree difference?
Yeah, about.
That's not too bad.
No.
So the power steering pump on the Z, I don't remember if I said this in the video or not, was actually bent and it was fraying belts. So Alberto actually stole a bracket off another VQ and we got a new belt in there. So we want to go test it to make sure we don't have any sort of power steering issues. So me and Alberto are going to go on a quick Starbucks run, but first we're going to have to stop at Wawa to go get some ice to fill up the water tank. So you can drive the car without cold water. You just don't want to rip on it or anything because it will be pretty heat soaked. Let's see if she still starts. I don't know why she wouldn't, but Alberto's actually wiring up the line lock right now. We're doing a setup to basically lock out the rear brakes. So when I'm doing burnouts and stuff, there won't be any rear brakes because you don't really need them for anything. Rather than a traditional line lock, it's kind of to pretend like we don't have brakes since that's the burnout way. Well, I guess I need to put my foot on the clutch, huh? Listen to the new cars. Starts like stock. All right, Alberto's first ride. We gotta go get ice at Wawa. You excited?
Yeah, let's do it.
Can you hold this? I can drive.
Sure. Oh my god, I don't still need to learn how to drive. Is that clutch too aggressive for you?
That's good. How's it sound?
Sounds pretty good. Wait.
These brakes are so bad. So we made a quick Wawa stop to fill it up with ice. It turns out the ice is going to be more expensive in this car than gas. It's $5 for 2 bags of ice. All right, let's see this routine. Not too inconvenient. We're going to eventually make it 2 so we can combine the tanks when we want to. They're all nice and chilly. Ready? I still gotta line this thing, it's kind of terrifying.
Oh, the tires smell good. You said it was great, but all I smell is tire. I got a guy next to it, he's like, what is that? Oh my god, it's so loud.
Yeah, it didn't spin so much last time, maybe because it was just the tires were hotter from all the dyno pulls, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Alright, we made it to Starbucks.
Oh, that guy's gonna get scared. You're good on this side. Alright, there. And it's
Perfect. While Alberto's playing with the line locker on this, Schulman's helped me rebleed this, and I'm also swapping this blow-off valve to a recirculating one so it doesn't do all the weird going rich stuff when it blows off. So I got a couple different fittings just to kind of make something work for the time being, because I can plumb it right back in down there. And I got this hose coming up that'll just go right into this blow-off valve that is the recirculating style. So basically when we press the solenoid, Alberto, it'll shut off, like kind of close the line of the rear brakes. So as long as you're not touching the brake pedal, then when you touch the brake pedal, only control the front brakes, correct?
Well, it's kind of tricky because the line lock is designed to lock the pressure. So you press pressure under the pedal, then you close the line lock, and it will hold the pressure from returning back to the master. So what I did, I wired them back, I plugged them backwards into the rear brake line so that when you press the brake, you cannot put pressure towards the piston on the rear caliper. So you can do a nice rolling burnout.
Came out so clean, dude.
So the fittings that I ended up getting were to put them in line on the wheel well, and the fittings were the same on the brake, on the ABS, on the ABS pump. So it's a lot nicer to install over here, because I was thinking about putting it on the rear wheel well, but I didn't want to put anything back there since it might catch on fire. I don't want your brakes solenoid catching on fire and malfunctioning.
I've been disassembling the old smashed headlights to rob pigtails off them, since my car had HIDs before, and this other headlight setup is just normal headlights. What I did is I took this wiring off, since it has 12 volts when the lights go on, and then used this basically to feed the normal bulbs. I know it probably seems like pretty unexciting that I finally got the headlights working on the Chaser, but the good thing is, now that we have headlights, I can finally take you guys for a ride, because every time that I go and drive this car, it's at night and I don't have headlights, so I can't really do any pulls or anything because I have to kind of stay in the parking lot. Otherwise it would be a very, very big ticket. So now that that's all set up, I can fix the taillights and then hopefully we can have some fun. Finally, I can take you guys on a test drive in the Chaser. Show me you can experience a moderately fast Chaser.
Yeah, more JZ noises.
It should be faster than it is, but I got all the headlights working, so we're not riding dirty anymore.
I like riding dirty.
Do ya? Alright, see how she feels, Shulman. You gotta be the butt dyno.
Alright.
It feels fast as I feel like it should.
No. I mean it goes, but it's not like I'm expecting. You agree?
It's weird, yeah. I don't know if I got used to driving faster cars, but I feel like my car in Japan is faster. It's really weird.
I remember the other Chaser that when it was stock, it kind of felt more than this too.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, to be honest. I'm gonna go put some fresh fuel in. I don't know if that's gonna help, but...
Yeah, it might.
So here to stop by to drop off the final pieces. How much do you hate the Ganadors?
Oh, I love them. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is probably one of the hardest things you could possibly ever wrap.
Surprisingly, yeah, they actually came out really good though.
No, they did. I'm very, very excited. So now we have all the final parts to put this thing back together. Much appreciated. It's getting kind of late, but I really want to have this car looking how it's going to look for the end of this video, minus wheels and minus terrible fitment. So, got the side skirt that Guardian Wraps killed it on, along with the Ganadors and the roof wing. This is another D-Max roof wing, just like the one I have on my Chaser. And then the actual like door moldings, which will look really nice on there. So I'm just gonna time lapse it, and you can kind of see the process of putting it all on. It's late, it's 1 a.m., but I think the Chaser is finally, I don't want to say perfect because it'll be perfect once my wheels come. Right now the fitment's super, super weak. I don't have the right spacers for the rear, and the front's just kind of weird until I start trimming the fenders more. But the Ganadors and then these side moldings really, really completed it. Now we got the skirts. Kit is definitely very aggressive, not normally something I would choose for a Chaser, but because this is going to become a missile, I kind of like the racing line look. Rear splitter is still super aggressive. I don't know how I feel about it, but now that we got the wing on, this whole thing is getting tied together. What do you think, Matt?
I'm attracted.
Yeah?
Very much attracted.
It looks cool, man. Guardian Wraps did such a good job.
I'm jealous. I want one.
Look at that.
So pretty.
So baller. I might end up raising the rear down the road. I actually haven't put the BCs in the rear yet just because there hasn't been time. But I got it aligned today and got it pretty good. Headlights, taillights work. It's almost ready to rip. It's gonna need a few more things, but other than that, she's pretty good. So, what do you say we do some skids while we're cleaning up the shop? All right.
Wild. He's so wild.